You're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network. Visit bpn.fm to discover more.
Hello, I'm Jesse McAnally.
And I'm Andrew
And
DeWolf.
I'm Liz Eston.
And welcome to Musicals with Cheese, the podcast where I try to get Andrew and Liz like musical theater. And today, on this very exciting episode, we have a special returning guest.
Ooh, returning guest.
Yes,
Those are
yes.
the best guests because we're asking them to come back.
Yes, and they didn't say no, which is the important thing. Please,
That's the important thing.
yes, we've had that
They
before.
usually
It's
do.
been a bummer. Please join me in welcoming video creator, brilliant mind with excellent interior design skills. It's LadyKnightTheBrave. How you doing today? Let's pretend we didn't just talk for 45 minutes before this recording.
I'm a little bit sweaty.
Jeez, I keep you waiting that long.
I mean,
Yes, but also
I'd be pretty sweaty if I was stealing books too.
Oh my god.
You gotta
Good
get
segue.
there. You gotta get to that. You gotta get to that title
The
somehow.
segue. Segue is
Somehow.
classic.
I mean, yeah,
You
there's
just
no
threw
way
it
we're
out
gonna
there.
get there.
Yeah.
There was no story. There was no build-up. You just boom.
It's not like we're talking about a great We're not talking about Forum here. We kind of gotta get to this. We gotta get to the serious stuff pretty quick.
Lady Knight and I both have the Book Thief book. We're just going to hold it up constantly to show how smart we are.
I literally cannot look at how loved my copy is.
This is an audio medium. Like, put it right up to your mic so we can hear the love.
Don't
in
your
the...
patrons get a video or something?
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
want to hear it. Put it up to the microphone. Just flip through the pages so we can hear it. Beautiful. That's
good.
That's the ASMR stuff we need. We're talking about the Book Thief, the musical.
Hello, stars. How brave of you to rise. A small but nice surprise. Like a friend just stopping by. Hello, stars. You see us come and go. When loss is all you know. How do you light the sky? Please tell me how you carry on. When all the ones you love are gone. I'll try to be like you. In darkness I'll keep shining too. Hello, stars. You are my only friends. And when the night time ends, we'll have to say goodbye.
So, The Book Thief is a musical written by Jodi Picoult and Timothy Allen MacDonald, with music and lyrics by Alyssa Samsel and Kate Anderson, and it premiered at the Octagon Theatre in Bolton, Grand Manchester, England on September 17th, 2022. The plot of The Book Thief is, while subjected to the horrors of World War II Germany, young Liesel finds solace by stealing books and sharing them with others. Under the stairs in her home, a Jewish refugee is being sheltered by her adoptive parents. And that is a D- summary if I've ever seen one. So,
I wrote that.
yes, that is a base summary. Lady Knight, you did an incredible video essay a few years ago, comparing the book of The Book Thief, that's a sentence, to the film Jojo Rabbit and a lot of the similar themes there. In that, I don't think there was even like a glimmer of this musical in the cultural.
Oh no, there was
consensus.
actually.
Oh,
I think because I made it during lockdown, and I remember seeing a video of like a small child singing some version of probably the Star song or maybe a song with Rudy. And literally, when lockdown happened, I was like, "Oh, good, the evil has been defeated," because I don't think that Holocaust stories should be musicals. It feels really, really icky. I don't want to see a line of Jews in stripes going, I can't wait to die. It just feels really gross. Cabaret's, I think, the closest it's come, but also there's a lot of distance in Cabaret. And this still has some distance. Listeners, Broadway, do not make a musical in the death camps. I'm just saying it because they already made this and I don't trust them. I think The Book Thief should have been a play if they're going to adapt it for the stage. But there was some glimmerings of this before lockdown happened, and I went, oh God. And then they kept going.
They did not stop, and
No, they
yes, it is something we all have seen now. We have all watched the Book Thief musical, for better and for worse. I'm very curious, because I haven't talked to any of you about, like, general taste, except for Lady Knight. Lady Knight, you and I had a little conversation before this, so I'm going to put a pin in that, because I know you've got things. Andrew and Liz, what are your first general thoughts on the Book Thief before they get tainted by our opinions?
Andrew, you go.
Who's going
Andrew,
first?
you go first.
Andrew, your name starts with an A.
Oh, okay. Well, geez, is it bad that I liked it?
I've known several Gentiles did.
Okay.
Also,
what
maybe some Jewish people like it. I don't know. I'm very judgy.
But also, did you watch the film, Andrew?
Yes.
I feel like
I have seen the film. That's the only thing I've seen.
Did you like the
It was
films?
a long time ago. I don't remember. I was very young.
all right.
When did that come out?
That came out in like 2012. It came out last year, sir.
It came out in
like 2013.
Yeah,
I'm
2013.
I don't think I'm that much older than you.
You would
That
have
would
been
make
like
me 18 at the time, though, which I consider young.
That's a baby. So
I
you
was very dumb when I was 18.
I think you liked it fine because we're kind of covering a lot of lesser things as of late. And this is just like, oh, minimal effort, well shot enough bootleg, actors giving a shit. Hell yeah. Which I feel that. Liz, how about you?
The only word I can describe this as is mid. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. The story's fine. The actors are fine. The bootleg is fine. The songs are fine. I don't remember anything that has happened in detail.
I don't know about the bootleg being fine.
Yeah, towards
There's
the
that
end, it got
phone.
really bad because the guy recording kept zooming and scratching, and it was the worst.
Well, no, there was
But
one
the
guy in the
bootleg,
audience.
You can't really blame
Yeah.
them. Yeah, and then there's the guy in the audience where the phone was actually ringing as
Yeah,
well.
there's a phone
yeah.
ringing
Like
and a
the
bootleg,
most-
yeah. It's perfectly...
But you can't really blame them for the bootleg.
Yeah, I don't blame
so.
them for the bootleg. I blame them for the rest of it. It's fine.
Yes.
I have no feelings towards this that are any strong in any way. Liesl was good.
Yeah, the child actors are fine. I think Rudy was a little rough, but
Yeah.
child actors, you do your best.
Death did his best. He was doing his best pre-Hadestown Patrick Page impression the entire time.
Wait, the narrator?
Yeah, the narrator. Yeah.
Well, last thing before Lady, did you guys pick up that it was death before the end, or was it a twist to you guys?
You told me.
Okay.
I knew the book was
spoiled
narrated by Death from the minute I started it. So
I talked to some people who said that the twist that the narrator is death is like a twist and that people in the theater were shocked. So I think it's supposed to be a twist. It seems really obvious if you go in knowing, but he doesn't say it outright until towards the end, I guess. If it's actually meant to be a twist, I'm like, okay, whatever. But it seems obvious if you know. I don't know.
But Lady Knight, what did you think of this musical that you have such deep connections with from the book and your overall feelings?
Just not particularly positive. It's better than the movie. The movie's quite bad. The movie I feel like was made with the idea of how can we make a Holocaust story for 5-year-olds? They just really there's so much defanging of the complexity that's in the book that happens in the film. And there's some in the musical. I would say it's a D, the movie's an F. It's still a lot of times is kind of nails on chalkboard for me because there's just some stuff in it that I'm like, there's a lot happening that I was not a fan of, but there are some things that are better than the movie, and for that I say D+.
Fair enough. let's just start from the basics. Like, we can fucking Doug Walker this shit a little bit. Like, the set design, let's just start there. It's got a lot of things I don't particularly love, where it's like, we're going to rely strictly on a minimalist stage with lighting and projections and not much else. And that
Isn't
is
all modern theater, though? I feel like that's not a this thing.
I didn't mind the set. Like, the set was not a thing I was thinking about. At least it was evocative enough for me that I was like, I get what we're doing. And I think that they just mainly did a lot of stuff with like the temperature of the lighting. Like the basement is very like warm yellow light, and like the streets are very blue light, whatever. And like, I followed. It was fine. I do think that there are better projections that they could have used than the ones that they did. But let's not get there yet.
What, you don't love the Hitler puppet?
I really don't like the Hitler puppet. I really, I saw a picture of it. They were like, he boxes like a big paper Hitler puppet. And that's better than it sounds. And they sent a picture, and I was like, oh boy.
I thought it was kind of silly.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's not meant to be in the book is the problem.
I thought he was telling like a fun story to a little kid.
Yeah, that's what they made it in the musical, and I didn't like it.
So what was it originally in the book? Like,
in the
that
book,
moment,
it's
at
just
least?
like the book talks about he has these dreams at night about boxing Hitler and losing, and it's just like an expression of his trauma of like, there is a person who is at fault for like the death of your entire people and your family and everything. And it's not something that was like made cute and digestible for his little child friend. He kept some things to himself because there was some shit that was hard to tell his little child friend. And the musical really went out of their way to go like, no, this is about her now. He's not a character on his own anymore. Like, he is a little bit more than the movie. Again, slightly better, but like not a lot.
So in the, I mean, I feel like a lot of this musical and the movie, from what I gather, really tends to focus on the Gentile characters and making them at the forefront of the story at the expense of basically the one Jewish character with a main lead.
Yeah, no. So like, for those who haven't seen the video, you can go watch it later if you want. But like, this is both, and the book too. This is, the genre is righteous Gentile story. It is a popular genre. It makes Gentiles feel good. I think there is a way to do it right. You don't see it very often, but like, one of the main things is like, you need to like treat the Jews as people and not as like tragic little props that the Gentiles are saving. And they do a little bit in the musical, but like, there's so much that the book did that was so vivid and interesting that is lost in the translation. So like, it becomes so much more when he leaves Himmel Street. That becomes about Liesel now. It wasn't before. That was just like when Hans gave a Jewish person bread, which again, another moment that's really awkward in the staging, because he has to go, here, have some bread, loudly enough that the soldier can hear him. And I'm like, that you wouldn't do that. That's stupid. But that happened, and they were like, oh no, the Nazis are going to come banging down our door and find a Jew in our basement. And so he just left. And he left them a note that said, you've done enough. And that's all it was. It wasn't about Liesel. And they made it all about her. Her being like, how dare he leave me? Everybody leaves me. And I'm like, shut up. I will not call a child that, but man, I wanted to. Yeah, no, there's just a lot of choices like that made throughout this adaptation that are just like, how can we make this Jewish character less interesting and highlight the Gentiles more?
Yeah. I feel all these things, and once again, there is a way to do this in interesting ways with a similar narrative. I think you highlighted Jojo Rabbit being something that does this, where the Jewish character is still very much a character, very much integral, very much an emotional part of that story.
No, like,
I got other issues with that film, but
I think Jojo Rabbit probably does it the best. Like, I think Book Thief is a good version of this story for like pre-2016 era, like when we were still young and had hope. And after that, you need something that's a little bit more blatant, being like, this is stupid. This sucks. Let me look at the camera and tell you this is stupid. He sucks. The Book Thief is a lot more gentle in its handling of some things. Like, it makes its opinions clear, but it's a lot more tame in its handling. And like, that was good for me pre-2016. And I'm like, now I think I need something a little bit more pointed, but I still love it. I still think it's good. And,
it makes me think of other like Holocaust films and stories from the time that I think a little pandering, like The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, which
oh my God, do not even speak to me of the Curson work. I fucking hate that movie.
Obviously, but that is kind of what these adaptations seem to be trying to push it toward.
Oh, yeah.
Much more towards
this
like, oh, everyone
is giving
like that.
Zookeeper's Wife.
Very much so. And that you bring that up, we should talk about the book writer, who is not a playwright. They are very much a novelist. Famously wrote My Sister's Keeper and many other kind of books your mom would read and make her feel real
books
bad.
That I read in high school.
Are they good?
Well, My Sister's Keeper is more interesting than its movie adaptation. I'll give it that.
But she also, I think she wrote her movie adaptation, though.
She killed the wrong sister in the movie. It's really stupid. The wrong sister dies in the movie. I'll never recover. People were crying in the theater, and I was going, no, wait. No, like the last 15 minutes of the movie. But,
she didn't write the screenplay for the movie.
No.
It was Jeremy Levin and Nick Cassavetes.
The Notebook guy.
Yeah, the Notebook guy. So that's why the wrong sister died, because Notebook guy.
Yeah, basically, she is Jewish. So this is the rare case where I'm actually standing up for a Gentile's work about the Holocaust over a Jewish person. This does not happen, but this is the rare one. I don't know. She tends to be kind of heavy-handed as a writer, and I think that her take on this is very, again, making it very digestible, sanding off a lot of the edges, the whole love over hate thing. The problem is a lot of people like to tell Holocaust stories and overly sort of mythologize it into, it's about hate, it's about all bigotry. And it's like, no, it's actually about some very specific bigotry that came from some very specific places. And by oversimplifying and making it about all bigotry, you actually remove a lot of the nuance of this particular genocide. And apparently that's her take. And I'm like, that's unfortunate, my dude.
I wonder, and this is a sincere feeling, if this were developed anywhere outside of the UK, maybe it would have had a much more pointed reaction.
I don't know about
that. I'm not so sure about that, but I know the UK as far as this specific political issue and their musicals representing anything other than feel good, sing ABBA, and go home.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I don't know. Things that are, I literally have a list. Things that are good. I think the suitcases as a visual motif are good. He talks about how he picks up souls and he carries them in his arms and stuff like that. Him carrying around a suitcase as the place he's carrying souls is a cool visual motif. I like it. The opening line is correct. The show should always open with death saying you are going to die. Everything after that is bad because I'm pretty sure they were trying to keep the reveal of him being death a secret. So they changed the rest of that speech to something less good. But the opening line is correct. The opening song is, I think, the closest this show gets to being an effective musical, an effective adaptation of the book. I think that it should have been a play, and I thought the choreography was nice. I have a lot of notes about things I would change about this show if I were to try to fix it as being a musical. All right, we're stuck with it as a musical. What can we fix? I have a lot of notes.
Who would you bring on as the writer? Let's say a book writer.
I don't know. I don't know who would fix this. I mean, I think Duncan Sheik might be a better, or Dave Malloy, somebody who has interesting, discordant sort of musical touches, because that's my thing is this sounds too fucking friendly. I'm I don't want this to sound this cozy. I want something uncomfortable and discordant, especially for death. I didn't like how fucking friendly he sounds. Death should be a creepy Greek chorus. Death should be played by multiple actors. The dude was fine. I thought he was fine. He did fine with what he was given. But,
Before we move on too far away from the songs, I do want to talk about the composers really quick.
Yes.
Do you know Alyssa Samsel and Kate Anderson?
Nope.
I didn't either, but I did look up them while watching this. They just did an off-Broadway show that a lot of people claim is good. I am not a fan of it. I don't like it, called Between the Lines. It's about diving into books or something. It was weird.
Did they just go, you wrote a show about books? Here you go.
I think they got their start. I think they were proteges of Kristen Anderson Lopez and Bobby Lopez, because their big first break is the Frozen 30-minute film before Coco, Frozen Fever. No, Frozen Ever After. They wrote
Frozen
No, I'm pretty sure it's
Adventure.
Frozen Fever, because there's Tangled Ever After and there's Frozen Fever.
No,
I hate that I know this.
It's what
Olaf's
Liz
Frozen
just said.
Adventure.
That garbage.
I
The
hated
TV
that.
special, 30 minutes long. They hold you hostage so you can see Coco for 30 minutes. And they wrote
You
all
have
the
to watch
songs
that
for that.
trash,
That's bad.
and then you can watch Coco.
Yeah. It's
Yes.
a master.
And it just came to life. They were writing this fairy tale Disney wannabe bullshit.
Wait,
And
they're
then they
writing
do
Wish?
They just okay. I get you. I don't think they wrote Wish, did they?
I don't know. Like, you were talking, I'm like, what else is there? Because that one seems very like Disney brand Disney.
No, it just, for The Book Thief, it felt like Disney brand Disney, and to a subject matter that did not need that vibe in any way whatsoever.
There's so many little
And-
things that they cut from. Every version cuts the bit, and it's one of the strongest bits in the book, where when Liesel says, I hate Hitler, Hans slaps her across the face. Because he's like, that's dangerous. You can't say that. Every version is like, no, we can't have good friendly papa do that. He's got to do something else. Every time I'm like, all right, fine. Sorry.
I do have a question about Rory. Is that the
Rudy.
character's name? Rudy, I'm so sorry. Was he that obsessed with Jesse Owens in the book?
Kinda.
Or is that... Okay.
Kinda. I don't know that should have been a musical number. That's one of the many moments in the show where I was like, I don't think this should have been a musical number. There are several of
I mean,
them.
that was Act 2 opener.
Act 2 openers
Act 2
always
opener
are
could-
bullshit.
Yeah, no, I'm
sit
just like,
down.
Act 2 opener should be, I don't know, Liesel riding in the basement, or honestly, the Act 2 opener should have been Death going like, the sky is the color of Jews, and Nazis are dying in Russia. Like, he does that in the book. He often will just step back and be like, here's what's happening in the rest of the world right now. And frankly, that would have been a lot more interesting than a number about Rudy's thing with Jesse Owens. Yes, he does like Jesse Owens, and it's a chance for the book to comment on just like the way that this bigotry functions, where like he's a child, he doesn't understand that Jesse Owens is a black man. And so like his father tells him like, you have good, safe blue eyes. You should be happy with that. He literally covers himself in charcoal and runs down a street. Yeah, again, I think it makes sense in context. It's good they cut that, but like, so they just have this number where he sings about Jesse Owens, and I'm like, okay, all right, bud. Of all the things they cut, I'm like, I don't know why you kept that.
Yeah, it felt weirdly discordant from everything else, and made a character which I think we're supposed to be like ruefully empathetic with. I hated I was really like dreading any time he came on stage, which made me feel
Rudy in
bad
the
for feeling that way
musical,
toward a boy.
It's hard to translate this. I do think movie Rudy might have handled this a little bit better because, again, part of the translation to stage just makes some characters broader, and I don't think that works for Rudy either because it's very cute. It's just him going like, "How about a kiss on it?" Like, just it just he comes off very grating and pushy, and it's like, yeah, he's being a little pushy. They're like 10, but it comes off worse in the show every time he shows up to badger Liesel. I'm like, oh god, no, you are supposed to like him a lot. He's like her one friend.
Not a fan. Like, it's obviously not a good thing when you dread a character coming on stage or anything like that. So as an overall experience, at time at the theater, I think it also just fails. I think as far as that goes, like removing all the social context, anything that you'd want in a musical is also just kind of not there.
The choreography's nice. That's like my one thing is like, I think the choreography is nice. I don't hate the whole like them like making books fly around and some of the puppetry, some of it not Hitler. But some of the other puppets that are like clearly made out of book pages, I was like, that's charming. I don't hate it. You know, there's some stuff here that I'm just like, if this were a play, you know, in the vein of A Monster Calls or Ocean at the End of the Lane, where it's like, yeah, we're going to get weird and artistic and we're going to have funky visuals to represent some things. We're just not going to sing. I'm like, and this is, I love musicals. I am not going to frequently advocate for people to stop singing, but this is the time. That one, the Nazi number in the bar, the upsettingly cheerful, you're late to the party. That's the joke. They sing, you're late to the party. And I was like, this really wishes it was Tomorrow Belongs to Me, and it's not, and I hate it here.
I hated that song just because the audience was laughing at it. Like, the actual audience was laughing at the inappropriate.
I'm like, I don't want comedy Nazis here. The tone isn't right. This doesn't work. This would work if it was a Jojo Rabbit musical.
It doesn't make them look dumb enough for it to really show that they're making fun. It almost feels like, yeah, this is catchy. Sing this at home, kids.
Yeah, there's so many bits that I was just like, I don't like this tonally. I don't like what this is doing. Oh no! I don't like when because Death cheekily says to the audience, like, I don't get a lot of applause in my line of work, so I'm going to play characters in the show, which, like, that feels right. That feels like a thing that Death in the book would say. I thought that was cute. But, like, when he shows up dressed as a nun, doing man in dress transphobic humor, I was like, oh, this is unnecessary. He could be anybody other than a nun. We and the audience loved it.
Well, that's British theater. That's
I know,
why a lot of the
Love
shows
England.
Andrew, I felt like you had something to say.
No, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I don't fully agree with the negativity, I guess.
Like, bring it on. What are your thoughts?
I thought that there was good themes in this. I really like the themes of like loss and like I thought it was pretty emotional. Personally, I guess I don't know.
I don't know. I get where you're coming from because you're seeing a watered down version of something else.
A watered down version of something very good. Even a watered down version of this very good story still has some bits that hit because the story it's working from is quite good. So, like, I'm just like, the book is a lot better is what I would say. But, like, yeah, no, I'm not going to fault you for, like, feeling some feelings during parts of the show. There are parts of the show that have feelings in them. I still have a lot of feelings about Max, even though I think that this version, while still pretty good, I do think Ben Schnetzer in the film was actually a bit better. Again, just this bringing it to the stage, Max is a lot bigger and broader and louder, and he's a very withdrawn character. And, like, there might have been a way to do that on stage. This is not it. I like that the show remembers he's a boxer. The movie didn't. And the bit where he does a Shabbos prayer with his mother from afar was nice. You know, he wore a yarmulke at Elisel's wedding. That was nice.
But I think, Andrew, what things really affected you? And I get that all these things are also just point of view things. Do you also agree that maybe this is a subject matter that shouldn't be a musical?
I agree that we shouldn't have like kick lines in the death camps. That's not good, obviously. But I don't think that this show did that.
Yeah, listen, I just hear Broadway not having any restraint. That's just a note at large.
I don't think that this show did that necessarily.
I don't know. It bothers me a lot when they all just have like these very thick Cockney accents too, where it all feels very Oliver Twist and less. It removes
I think that's
one
because
step
this was
beyond
made in
it, too.
England.
Yeah, but
honestly, what it reminded me of is like if there were to be a comedy number, and this is a very different tonal show, but I saw the Transparent musical, That's
Hmm.
not a thing. I don't know if it'll ever get to Broadway, but it was here in LA and they wanted to bring it to Broadway. And there is a comedy number at the beginning of Act 2 that is a very good comedy number where they sing, "It's a great time to be gay and Jewish in Germany in 1940 or whatever." And it's like the comedy is pointing in the correct direction where you're like, oh my God, like it's funny, but it's also really dark. And like, that's the kind of humor that I think the show should have. Like, I don't hate the idea of a comedy number. I don't like the execution of it.
I think the Nazis being the ones to do it is fine because the Nazis are properly portrayed as fucking horrible in the entire rest of the show. And in reality, Nazis are kind of like stupid and funny as a concept, but obviously when they're real, they're horrifying and awful because, you know, what they do. But like if you listen to one talk, they sound like stupid.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where like, and again, I'm coming at this as somebody who is a huge fan of the book. So like, I'm considering how they're using their real estate, because there's a lot they cut from the book. And some of it I understand. Some of it I'm like, I get that we had to cut some stuff. But like, Max is in a huge part of the book, and he's in like some of Act 1 and then shows up as like a little aside a couple of times in Act 2. And I'm just like, how the real estate is being used in the show several times, I'm like, this is what we're going to spend it on? And you're late to the party as a comedy number. I'm like, I don't know. I think Rudy had a song or should have had a song about like, do you want to kiss me so much? If that was actually a song, that's the correct place for it. Again, execution rough, and I think the child actor was a little rough for Rudy. But like, that's the kind of point where I'm like, okay, yes.
Andrew, you did bring up a point that I wanted to make sure that you were able to talk up. One of the things that I think you found most powerful about this is its display of fascism and how, as a political standard at all, it affects everyone negatively, no matter who you are.
Yeah, I think that Jojo Rabbit does this better,
Yep.
but I think it's interesting to show how even the people that fascism is supposed to help, it doesn't help them at all, you know?
Yeah, no, which is something that the book takes a lot farther. Like, this is a little thing, and this is just book purist. I was like, I know this is me being in my feelings right now, but this annoyed me. So Frau Hopstoffel is the neighbor that Rosa and her like spit at each other, and they have like a thing. That is in the book.
Yeah.
In Act 2, they bring it back, and I'm like, because in Act 2, by that point in the story, Frau Hopstoffel's son had committed suicide and her other had died in the war. And she was like terminally depressed. Liesel would read to her. And I'm like, no, we shouldn't be joking anymore. And like Rosa having a comedy song about how annoying her husband is when she was like actually just like crying over his accordion every night when she thought Liesel was asleep. Stuff like that. Like, just the book takes that idea much farther in execution.
I actually thought that song was effective, the comedy
It was
song.
when it turned at the end and got sad. I was like, okay, but again, some of this.
I thought that was a good execution though, because it's like it's a funny number, and you're like, dang, she's really callous, and then you're like, oh wait, she's masking it all.
Some of this
You know,
is
it's a coping mechanism.
Yeah,
but I think Rosa is another character who suffers because she doesn't get a lot of real estate. So like you don't really get a lot of her complexity until I think that moment. Whereas like in the book there's a whole sequence they cut. I kind of get it and I kind of am annoyed. I don't know. I'm not again, real estate. Max gets sick and there is a point where they're like, Hans and Rosa have an earnest discussion about what do we do if we have a Jewish dead body in our basement? Like just things like that. When Max shows up, like falling over, starving, Rosa's like, here, let me get you food. And he's like puking it up and because he hasn't eaten in a really long time. And she's like, all right, here you go. Here's another bowl. Like just, she is a very harsh character. And I don't think that the musical gives her a lot of moments to show that off until literally that one song. So again, just some of these are nitpicks. I'm going to freely admit I am absolutely nitpicky. One of my things that I think that the music.
I mean, I can agree that a lot of the characters did feel underdeveloped.
Yeah.
And that they focused probably too much time onto. Honestly, I think that little boy got too much time.
Yeah, I mean, like one
Straight up, like there was just not very much interesting about that little boy.
He's better in the book. I would say I'd say that actually in terms of just text adaptation, he's probably one of the more accurate handlings. I just think that kid wasn't great. Unfortunately, kid actors are a toss-up. That's the roll of the dice, and I think that child was doing his best.
The concept of like the kid in Nazi Germany that loves Jesse Owens is fun and like interesting, but there's only so much you can do with that.
No, and again, this is one of those things where just because a lot of stuff gets cut, so you miss a lot of the times, like when his father gets taken away to also be in the war, and like Liesel's running through the Jews being marched to Dachau, getting beaten by a Nazi soldier, and Rudy's the one pulling her away, like, we gotta go. Just moments that really illustrate like the value of their friendship. Are lost in the shuffle. One of the things that I think would have been really good is, so in the book, Max writes stories for Liesel. Every adaptation does this thing where he paints over the pages of Mein Kampf, and every adaptation has gone, and then he gives it as a journal to Liesel so she can write her magical words. And what it actually is his sketchbook that he writes and draws in, and he writes stories for Liesel in it. I think eventually he gives it to her and she writes in it, but like, his stories are a major part of it. And The Word Shaker is one of his stories, which is sort of in the musical, but Liesel writes it now. He sort of says a couple lines from it in the Paper Hitler boxing sequence, but mainly it's a story that Liesel writes now. And one of the bits of projections that I thought would have been better is if they included like some of the illustrations from the book, projected and animated those and put them up on the screen instead of whatever they were doing instead, because the illustrations of the book are extremely evocative. And that was one of the things that I was like on the edge of my seat. Are they going to include one? And then they did. And then it was written by Liesel. And I'm like, again, just taking away from the Jewish character and aspects that made him interesting, to just like further make it about Liesel.
I did find it odd that he gave a blank diary. Like, where'd you even get that?
No, it's Mein Kampf.
You just had to.
They say.
How did he get every single page to be blank?
He painted over it. He literally
painted over all of them.
Yes, literally.
That's all he did.
Hans, I think they might have cut this in the show.
I think they didn't do a very good job describing that.
No. So like literally in the book, if you look closely at some of these illustrations, you can see like words bleeding through a little bit in some of them. Like Hans. I don't think the show mentions this. Hans actually works as a painter, like painting buildings and walls and shit. So like it's literally just his white paint lying around that Max uses to paint over the pages. They do
mention it in the show.
Okay, I couldn't remember briefly if they mentioned that bit. But yeah, so that's what it is he paints over the words of Mein Kampf, which is very like, yes, thematically, yes. But then it just becomes about her.
Sounds like a lot of the issue is that they focus too much on the Liesel.
Yeah, and I think just like the love over hate, like ending on this it's very much oversimplifying. I, again, as a book purist, am very annoyed that I think the last line of the show is probably just them singing love over hate or something like that, when it should actually be Death saying, I am haunted by humans. That's the last line of the book, and it's incredibly evocative, and I'm mad that they cut it.
Speaking of haunted by humans, how about we talk about our favorite section? It's the Previews Letterbox game, where we compare our opinions to those of the real critics that haunt me, that over on letterbox.com.
Yes, that was pretty good.
Say you were haunted by your patrons.
I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
Also, Lady Night, good news. Transparent Musical is going to Broadway, according to a July 10th article. So
somebody said that it was like, they just released those articles and then it means nothing.
Yeah, I don't know if something's going to come, but I did find an article by Variety. So
yeah.
Yeah, just like the Variety Marvel article.
Yeah,
so,
true.
This is, Lady Night, do you remember how this game goes?
We have to guess 1 star or 5 star.
Yes, okay. You know what?
And this is, I'm guessing, reviews of the film?
I'm reading them as we speak, Jess, so I cannot participate in this game.
No, I was going to say, Late Night, do you want to go up against me or Andrew?
Well, Andrew's usually the one who does it, right? That's usually how it
Yeah,
goes.
but I'm
I'm
trying
an
to
I'm a
trying
bit of
to
an
jazz
expert.
things up.
Jess, didn't you
You
might be
find
able
I'm trying to
easily,
feel alive.
easily beat
What
Jess.
if all three of us do it?
Nah, I'll just put you up against Andrew. All right.
He doesn't
Alright,
want to
you
do
gotta
it.
I don't want to lose against Andrew.
That's true. Also, you can get them from Jess or me. You make your choice.
The L team. Yeah, you guys are going to take the
Liz.
L's.
Okay. We
You've
must
been
stick
very
to-
quiet. You need to participate.
I'm so sorry.
Yes. Liz,
No, you're
why don't
fine.
you go first? Pick one, Liz.
Okay, I'm ready.
Go.
You're tearing me apart, Liesel.
Oh, God. That's a good
really
one.
good.
That is a good
That's
one.
That's where we're starting. We're starting at a 9 here, kids.
Yeah, we're so high.
Who's guessing first, me or Andrew?
Oh no,
That's
you're
you.
guessing.
That's you.
Okay.
When I say you guess,
Okay. I'm gonna guess 5 stars.
that's a 1.
Okay.
What? You come up with a great line like that and then you give it a 1 star?
That was
All right,
that was
Andrew.
it
Why,
either
why
way.
the effort?
Not enthused
Andrew.
by the movie.
Does it
Okay.
count if I watch the musical?
Apparently not. We're gonna give it a 1.
That is a 5. We're 0 for 0.
0-0.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Max is a smash.
I'm sorry, they're not wrong.
Gotta
That's
think
a
about
That's
that.
a great
boy.
reaction.
That's a
the great
boy.
Yeah,
reaction.
he's a beautiful man. Ben Schnetzer is beautiful. So's the guy in the musical. They're both beautiful men.
Beautiful man.
I'm going to say 1 star.
5.
Damn it!
Ooh.
I'm
this
always
might be
trying
a,
to do
a
opposite
no-hitter.
because I'm like, it's so often opposite day.
It's only opposite 40% of the time.
Depends on who's gathering them.
Andrew, are you ready?
Yeah.
My 10th grade English teacher made this boring.
Made this boring.
Yeah, made it boring.
Okay. They weren't engaged because of their 10th grade teacher.
Now, is that regarding the book or is it regarding the film?
Or the musical.
It's probably both. They probably read the book and then watched the film. That's 10th grade English for you.
Yep.
I read the Great
Man.
Gatsby in 10th grade English.
American education, right?
I mean, 1 star, right? They were bored.
Yep. That is the first point on the board, Andrew.
Watched this in class and fell asleep.
1 star.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, Andrew.
Yeah.
I like Liesel's voice.
Okay. Is that enough to be a 5 star? I think it is. We're gonna go 5. We're gonna go
That
5
is
stars.
correct.
Minimum.
I'm trying to look up what popular show she's on now. Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
The
I'm gonna
actress
say
plays
the
Liesel.
Liesel actress is on Yellow Jackets. Now we've said it.
Is-
You can't yell at us.
Is that a spinoff of Yellowstone?
No, it's a
Are
very
you
popular
being
show.
serious? It's about
Because I know
can't believe I watched
Yellowstone
this
has
movie in theaters.
1,000 spinoffs.
no. It's like
very
girls,
different.
plane accident on an island. I think there's cannibalism and like witchcraft.
Yeah, there's cannibalism,
like
witchcraft.
Lost?
Yeah, it's a fun time. And they're adults too, and they
right.
deal with their own shit there. It's a lot.
I like cannibalism and witchcraft. That sounds
It's very
good.
popular on Twitter, so it's important that we mention that, or otherwise we will be crucified by the
But is
internet.
it popular on Tumblr? They are the true
Yes.
tastemakers
Yes,
of the
very
internet.
popular on Tumblr. So we must
Yes.
mention
How
it.
many ships?
She plays young
I have
Jackie.
to block the tag because some stuff from it is gross. So I don't want to see random gift sets of like mutilated dead bodies.
Yeah, they start eating each other.
So it's like the Hannibal fandom.
yes,
Yeah.
that's different.
Yeah, for lesbians.
Yes, it's lesbian Hannibal. That's probably the best way to describe the Yellow Jackets fan.
Well, sign me up.
Cannibalism is sexy.
Is it my turn? Is it Andrew's turn?
Oh, you did the
you
Liesel's
just
voice one,
pressed
and
no.
now it's my turn. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
High school sophomore me really loved this one.
Aw, 5 stars.
Correct.
All right, Andrew. This is your time to either win it or look like a huge clown. Are you ready? Because you're tied.
I'm always looking like a huge clown, so I it's fine either way.
Great. I feel empty now.
Damn. Was the movie that bad? I literally
It is
can't
that bad.
remember.
I watched like one scene of it and I got
watched it
bored,
in theaters.
so-
I watched it at a midnight screening. I was so excited. I considered driving 90 minutes to a nearby larger city where it was showing first because it was limited release. I cannot stress I was so hyped for this movie and it was extremely bad.
It's like me
I
and Mank.
remember there was the guy that played the accordion.
Yep.
And there was like a house that they kept going to that had books in it.
Yep.
Those are the 2 things I remember.
Did
That
she steal
happened.
from the house?
Yes.
What's that?
Did she steal
Yeah,
from the
she
house?
stole from the
though?
house.
Okay, good. Want to make sure
And
they
that
didn't miss
didn't-
the literal point.
Yeah.
Well, no, she steals from
Did-
the books
did-
that are
was there-
burned first. Like it's
Mhm.
Was there even an analog to that house in the musical? I felt like there wasn't.
She talks to the lady who owns that house several times. I don't think they ever. I think the scene where they're dancing around with books is meant to be the library scene.
Because like I feel like the whole movie was them at that house. Like, that was like that's the only thing I remember.
No, it's not that much.
That's the only thing I remember. When I think back to that movie, I'm like, there was the guy with the accordion. He died, and then they were at that house. Like,
the guy with the accordion is Jeffrey Rush, by the way, of Pirates of the Caribbean fame.
Also, did she learn how to play the accordion at the end? Is that how the movie ends?
No.
Okay, so I'm imagining that because I have like a vague.
I mean, if that happened in the movie, I erased it from my mind. But like, no, I think she like might mess around with it once or twice because it's his and she misses him. But like, I don't think she learned to play it.
Okay.
Andrew reviews
I felt like
movies.
The musical was like. I felt like the musical was directly calling the movie out when the death was like, oh, you carried that accordion and never learned how to play it? And I was like, oh, because she learned how to play it in the movie.
No, that was just random shade for no reason.
Shade.
Okay.
Did you ever guess the answer?
No,
to
he
this?
didn't.
No,
He
what
did
was
it.
it again? I just went on a rant.
I swear to God, Andrew, you review movies like
More of a
I do when I
ramble.
was 5. Like, someone asked me, hey, did you watch The Princess Bride? And I said, yeah, it was boring. It was about 4 people climbing up a mountain for 3 hours. That was my interpretation of The Princess
Yes.
Bride at 5.
Damn, that is what happened, isn't it?
Dare
Andrew,
you?
it was I feel
Yes,
empty
what's
now.
wrong with you?
I feel empty now. No,
Yes.
no, great.
Oh, okay.
I feel empty
one
now.
star then. We're gonna say 1 star.
That is a 5-star. And y'all tied!
Motherfucker.
And that is the game. So let's go into a mid-show talk about our patrons then. I guess talk about 1 or 2 of the songs. Hey guys, sorry to interrupt you in the middle of the show, but we've got a shill at you. Today's show is brought to you by the extremely kind donations by our donors over at the Patreon, Lady Pates and whatnot. Andrew, what's Patreon?
Patreon's a website that like takes money and gives it to other people, namely us. You can use it to give to us.
Only us.
Only us. Only us.
Okay, well, we have like a bunch of perks and stuff that you can get. We have a lot of extra content on there.
A full commentary of the Dear Evan Hansen movie.
That's
Yeah.
true. We did put that up there, and we'll probably have something new soon. Maybe even when this drops.
We can only hope.
Yeah.
Plus, if you pay enough, you can come on the show.
Yes, that is one of the Lady Knight did not pay us to come on the show, but also even if you give us as little as $1, you will get the unedited full versions of this show where you can see our faces.
That's true.
You can see Lady Knight's face. They are not just a stick figure; they have a face and a personality
And a beautiful
and a
bedroom.
beautiful room.
And
And
sometimes
oh
I
my-
gotta cut a lot of stuff from these episodes, so you might get a lot of extra content.
Take a look at our School of Rock episode where Andrew cut 90
Oh, yeah.
minutes out.
It's amazing.
Shit.
You should listen to it.
It was
We talked
hilarious.
about 9/11
I laughed
a
so
lot.
hard that night.
it was too
What, a
funny.
lot?
9/11.
9/11.
We
I cut
called
all of it. I'm like, this cannot possibly go in the episode.
we called the Miranda Sings apology 9/11 for
Yeah.
ukuleles, and then we did an entire bit about what that would look like,
I don't know what.
And it
and we
went for
kept
like a
bringing
half
it
an
back
hour.
up because we thought it was funny.
Yeah.
So I had to cut every single time, and that,
Yes,
All right,
you
you're
did,
gonna read
and you
the
made the
names
right
this time,
call.
right? Or am I doing
Our
it?
current patrons are Melissa Goldman, Danielle, Renix Peasant Chick, Jess the Stampede, Ewan Casty, Monica Thoreau, Brent Black, Nathaniel Stacey Coombe, Joseph Evans Green, Mary Lou Choquette, John Fennells, Russ Walker, Musical Hell, Emily Gracie, Kyle Summers, Janae C, Scoot the Technicolor Dreamcoat, Liz Lim, Nothing is Certain Except Beth, and Texas, Thespian, Roger Benjamin, Jessica T, Mitchell Young, Chai Teacup, Chris Marcotte, Kiji Marie Anastasio, Trevi Joseph, Layla, RJ Narija, Juliet McLennan, Bjorn Hermans, Toriana Fraser, Sammy, The Adequate Amount, Jacobson, Angela, Kaylee Blazier, Cinemageddon Reviews, Villainous Miss, Sophiana Ali, The Omega Geek, Paige Pearson, Maddie Wargle, Elisa Erdman, Anna Loskatova, Sarah Den Blekier, Evan Ball, Zachary Torres, Rora Morasso, Mara Forloin, Lisa L, Possessed Washing Machine, Nick Rowe 10, Puffy Boy, Julia Hardy, Sydney Hicks, Ann Bell, Billy Clifton, Andrew Wright, The Red Caboose with a Kaboom, Gold Plate and Kikimora, and Julia Balderdotier. They give us a little money that helps us keep us paid, I guess. And they get tons of fun perks, and they get to hang out with us. I feel like we don't hype up our Discord server enough, but that is actually pretty active, and you can literally ask me and Andrew anything at any point, and we'll probably respond to you. And they're just good people over there, which is the best part.
It's a good time.
How about we get back to this? Yeah. So here's the thing. There's no album for this show.
Yeah.
So we're kind of limited to what we can technically are legally allowed to play on the Broadway Podcast Network.
Oh.
Which is it these 2 songs that you have
That's
listed?
it?
No. We can only do the fucking Star song.
Really?
No, I hate that
That's
song.
the only song we can do?
Is that the?
It's the only song they've officially released.
Really?
That song has a reprise as well that Max sings, which
Yes.
I liked
Does that
better.
count?
'Cause he's-
Um,
I doubt it.
Shortest song section on
Yeah.
record. Jesus Christ.
It's really rough, but they got Hello Stars. It came out officially
Hello
as a song a
Stars.
month ago, and they play it 500 times. So we are talking about half the score when we talk about this one song.
Hello, stars. You are my only friends. And when the night time ends, we'll have to say goodbye. So even when you're out of sight, I'll bravely wait until the night, when daylight slips away. I promise I'll be here to say hello, stars.
The thing is, and I don't remember, Liesl, I think, has like one scene where they talk about her looking up at the stars, but there's a really great scene where Max, after being in a basement for months, like goes
That moment's
outside during the bombing of Himmel Street and like gets to look at the sky for the first time in a really long time. And I think there's a line about like he looked at the stars, they burned his eyes or something. Like, it's a great scene. So when Max sings Hello Stars, I was like, yes. And when Liesl sang it, I was like, no. But whatever. I see why you would have that be a reprise, another thing connecting them musically. Like, I get the idea behind it. I'm just being a nitpick. I will say the opening number, which you can't play a clip of, but where they sing like the colors. I kind of like that song. It's actually a pretty good take on, because like the opening of the book has literally the first lines are first the colors, then the humans. That's usually how I see things, or at least how I try. And then he says,
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I do want to make sure that Andrew knows this. You can play the opening number because it is in the first 45 seconds of the Book Thief trailer on the Belgrade Theater YouTube page.
That's true.
There's a story I've studied, just one of a few. Come with me and I'll show you. It begins with a girl, but this girl, she steals. Watch. I mean, who does that and why? But a book thief was born, and I was intrigued. The year is 1939. The place is Nazi Germany. Here's a moment in history where hate fought and won. The result, devastation. I suppose I take pity on those torn apart. So I urge you, have a heart, have a heart, have a heart, have a heart.
yeah, no, the opening number is good, because they're the colors, and then he runs through the 3 times he saw Liesl Meminger, which was, and because he says that he focuses on the color of the sky rather than on his work, which he doesn't enjoy. Death doesn't like his job. It bums him out. He wants a vacation.
Can I have his job?
And so like
Sounds great.
Understandable.
yeah, no, again, this book is very good. And
You have to kill a lot of
And I'll
so
deal
like
with
he
it.
describes the colors, the white of the snow when Liesl's brother died. And then there's black, I think, and then red when Mulkin gets bombed. Black, I don't know what they do in the show because they cut it, but in the book there's a whole sequence where there was a crashed American pilot who basically died in his plane, and like Liesel and Rudy find him in the forest, and he's got like a minute or two, and then he dies, and Rudy gives him a teddy bear that he was carrying around. It's a really sweet scene. They cut it probably because they couldn't handle a plane. I don't remember what they did for the middle one in the musical, but yeah, and then red for when like the sky when Molking gets bombed. And yeah, just that whole number. The refrain is "have a heart," which feels like a thing Death would say because he's constantly like trying to be like, "This sucks. You should be sad. I'm sad."
But it also feels a little Disneyfied. Like, I love like anything that isn't leading back to the "have a heart" because "have a heart" feels like something like Snow White would sing.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's less on the nose than "love over hate," which is the refrain for a lot of the show that I thought was really trite.
I stole that from Michelle Obama.
I'm just like, if I had to pick a refrain that I could live with from this show, "Have a Heart" feels right, or at least more right. But yeah, no, just that song I think was the right level of like a little bit spooky, a little bit unsettling, but also like it was kind of a good song. I didn't hate it as a song.
But on that note, what is our overall thoughts on the Book Thief musical and our cheese ratings? Which probably my worst transition of the entire night. Liz, why don't you go first? I'm going to throw you under the bus.
I had to go first. No, I've been really quiet.
Because they were actively looking up and I wasn't going to do it.
Oh, yeah, I actively Google cheeses sometimes during the song section.
Oh, I know you did.
Fun fact, yes, I am prepared. Yeah, this is fine. It's very mid, as I said before. I don't remember much from it besides like, it's like, okay. Like, nothing stands out. Liesel's fine. I wish she wasn't this main character 100% of the time. The songs are fine. Everything's fine. I wish it wasn't funny half the time. I don't know. It didn't really affect me in any way at the end of it. It was like, okay, cool. And then I like moved on with my day. Like, okay, it's fine. Also, these composers also worked on Apple TV's Central Park.
Yes, starring Kristen Bell playing a black child.
A what?
So there's a show called Central Park. They had a biracial, like half black, half white character played by Kristen Bell. They got called out for it, and Kristen Bell was like, well, I am half white, so I am white, and so I am half this character, so I have equally as right. And then people were like, no, that ain't cool. And then she stepped down from the role after season 1.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's not a good idea. Why'd they think they could do that?
Because Hollywood's really dumb.
Hollywood is very dumb.
Speaking of Hollywood being dumb, you saw that they just canned an entirely finished Wild E. Coyote movie today.
Oh.
Well, I mean, that's Warner Brothers. They're a mess.
Yeah, it's a mess.
Warner Brothers realized that you can make more money by not making movies than by making them, so they just started throwing everything.
Yeah, they make a lot of money via TLC shows now. It's very funny.
Okay, somebody else needs to.
Anyway,
cheese rating.
Cheese. I need to give cheese. I'm going to give this Harzer cheese, which is a sour milk cheese from low-fat curd cheese and only contains 1% fat. So that's my German cheese of choice for this recording. I think I've done like 6 German cheeses in my musical cheese career. So.
I like that it's a career. Andrew, what about you?
I definitely think there's flaws in this, but I guess maybe me not having read the actual source material, I had very different expectations going into this.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I thought it handled a lot of what it did very well. I definitely would have liked to see some of the other characters explored more, and maybe less of just that kid that likes to run a lot.
Just read the book after this. It'll be better. Like, you'll like the musical, you'll like the book even more.
But I actually thought that the themes of death and loss were handled very well. I don't think the themes of like racism or anything like that were handled well at all. They didn't really focus on it enough for it to be handled well. So, oh well. I'm gonna give it Death Cheese, which is not a real cheese, but I guess it's from a video game. Seems good to me.
What video game?
Forgotten Realms.
Somebody will be excited that you mentioned it.
What?
Might not be a video game. Might be a tabletop.
Forgotten Realms.
Somebody knows what it is and is very hyped that you just referenced
The more
Death Cheese.
niche it is, the more excited they are.
It's a campaign setting for D&D.
All right.
Okay, yeah. So it's a tabletop. There you go.
Overall thoughts. maybe with a lot of work and not being a musical and maybe not making it at all, but maybe there's a good show in there. So my cheese rating is like one piece of like slightly moldy Parmesan cheese at the back of your fridge. Like if you cut off enough of the mold, there's like a good Parmesan cheese is nice. If you cut off all the gross bits, there might be a nice cheese in there.
That's fair enough. I struggled with this show. I found myself apathetic toward it at best, and the things I liked were not like things I loved, which was a bummer because I kind of had relatively high hopes for this, and it was not doing it for me in a lot of ways. So the cheese rating I am giving this is the one book I ever stole on accident by it just happened to be in my backpack on the last day of school, and I'm like, oh, I guess this is mine now. And that is the book that I think we all know and love, The Stinky Cheese Man and Other Fairly Stupid Tales.
Yes!
What grade did you steal this in?
That should have just
You actually stole that?
That was like in first grade.
First grade. Okay, I was gonna say.
Like,
if this was high school, I'd be a little
It
concerned.
wasn't like an intentional thing. It was like in my desk, and I just kind of loaded my desk into my backpack, like the one armed it in. It is a wonderful book. Lady Knight, you are wonderful, and I am so grateful that you joined us today, and you brought so many wonderful insights. I'm sure there's nobody out there that doesn't already know your wonderful content, but in case there's just one person, please tell us where we can all find you, because it's not on X.
No, it ain't. I jumped that ship like a year ago. I am LadyKnightTheBrave, all one word, KNIGHT. And you can find me on Tumblr, Instagram. I make video essays on YouTube. I made one about the Book Thief novel and Jojo Rabbit. I'd recommend it. It's one of my better ones. And yeah, I think that's everything.
And also you've done some incredible content recently. You are literally the only reason why I have a Nebula membership.
Oh, thank you.
Because you actually post consistent, like, Nebula-only stuff that I want to watch.
You know, those are actually, they're Patreon exclusive, and I post them on Nebula, so...
Well, now I gotta get a Patreon, too.
Yeah, it's one or the other. You know, it's literally, with the exception of the drawing videos of, like, how I draw the thumbnails, those are the only thing that are just on Nebula, but the monthly movies are on my Patreon as well. So unless you really like listening to me word vomit to try and explain the tragic thing that's, let's call it a process of how I paint the thumbnails, that's the only Nebula exclusive.
Fair enough. I mean, I love your content. I've been a fan of you before I became a colleague of yours, and that is so lovely, and I'm grateful that you joined us today. Speaking of people we're grateful for, thank you guys for listening to this episode. Please follow us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Stitcher doesn't exist, at Musicals with Cheese.
Stitcher hasn't existed for a long
Jess,
time.
you gotta take Stitcher off this document
too.
Yeah, Google Podcast it's not even on there. I don't read that. I just word vomit because I know how this show goes.
Yeah.
Follow us on Twitter at Cheesy Musicals, Patreon Musicals with Cheese, Instagram Musicals with Cheese, YouTube page Musicals with Cheese. Liz is working on 2 new videos for our YouTube page, which I am very excited for people to see. We have a Patreon-only podcast, Patreon with Cheese, where you can hear me and Andrew do a full-length Dear Evan Hansen commentary where... God damn.
I didn't do that. I did not do that. I did not.
That was totally incredible.
I don't know how that happened.
Email us at musicaltheaterlives@gmail.com to tell us how wrong we were about the Book Thief. Send all the hate mail to that email. Our keeper of the
LadyKnightTheBrave@hotmail.com. That email's public. I'm not.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
They have a Hotmail.
Oh, a hot.
Yeah,
our
I'm sorry.
keeper
I
of
made
the
that
cheese.
email one time ago.
Our keeper of the cheese is Juliet Antonio. And Lady Knight, do you want to give some ASMR to our good friend Juliet really quick? Because they write ASMR and we do this every week.
I don't know. What do I do?
You just did
You
it.
just did it. You whispered in your mic. You got it.
You just did it. You whispered into the mic. 10 out of 10. This show is edited by Andrew DeWolf, and I think he's doing a fantabulous job. Our theme songs were created by Robyn, Nash, via You Music UK. Thank you to the Broadway Podcast Network for having us on the platform and for not kicking us off for, I don't know, All right, anything else we have left to say before we wrap this on up?
Read the book.
Book Thief book.
Yeah.
Read the book. I haven't, but read it. I own it and I have never read it.
Liz, you should
No,
read it now.
All right, we'll see you next time on Musicals with Cheese. Hello, stars. Hello, sky. Hello, Lloyd.
No.
This is
That's
racist.
how she sang it. That's
This
exactly
is
how
so
she
bad.
sang it.
The
Hello,
colors.
stars.
Colors.
Thank you.
Have a heart.